I jokingly proposed to her, and the alien vampire woman said yes. The night was supposed to be forgettable. Just another round of cheap drinks on a rooftop bar, where the neon flickered like a dying star, and the laughter of strangers washed over me like static. My friends had dared me to do something stupid, which, to be fair, was already my specialty. The dare. Propose to the next person who walked through the door. No hesitation, no excuses. I thought it would be hilarious. I thought it would be harmless. I thought wrong. She walked in like she wasn't walking at all but gliding, like the air carried her instead of her own legs. Everyone turned, but they didn't linger long, just enough to notice something about her that made their brains twitch. Then they went back to their drinks. She looked human, almost perfectly so, but her ears were too long, tapering delicately, twitching as though they were tuned to frequencies no one else could hear. And her eyes, deep crimson, as if two galaxies of molten wine had collapsed into orbs. My first thought was cosplay. My second thought was expensive cosplay. My third thought, after a bit too much beer, was, this is going to be good. I stumbled forward, nearly tripping over a chair, and dropped down on one knee with all the drama of a bad romantic comedy. "Marry me," I shouted, holding out my empty hand like I was already offering a ring. My friends howled with laughter behind me, slapping the table, spilling beer everywhere. I thought she'd roll her eyes, laugh awkwardly, maybe give me the finger. Instead, the world fell silent. She tilted her head, and her lips curved into a smile that was almost too precise, too careful, like she had practiced smiling in front of a mirror. "I accept," she whispered. At first, I thought I'd misheard. Maybe she said, "I'll forget," or "you're a wreck." But no, the words were crisp, cutting through the noise like a blade. My friends went quiet. Even the bartender froze, bottle halfway to a glass. The woman leaned down, her long hair brushing my cheek, and said again louder, "I accept." Laughter burst from my friends again, nervous this time, like maybe they weren't sure if the joke had gone too far. I played along, standing up and bowing dramatically. "Great. That's settled then. Big day tomorrow, yeah? Don't be late." She didn't laugh. She just stared at me with those eyes that seemed to pulse faintly, like stars seen through blood. "Tomorrow then," she said, and turned away, slipping into the shadows near the door. The air felt heavy after she left. My friends cracked jokes. "Dude, you're screwed. You're gonna have to explain this to your mom." But their voices were shaky. We drank more, tried to laugh it off, but I kept glancing toward the door as if expecting her to come back. She didn't. I figured it was just some elaborate joke on her part, some weird performance art, or maybe I'd hallucinated half of it. By the time I stumbled back to my apartment, the night felt like a dream. I tossed myself on the couch, shoes still on, and passed out. When I woke, there was someone sitting on the railing of my balcony. Not standing, sitting, as if it were a park bench and not a 2-inch wide strip of metal 9 floors up. It was her. She was perched there casually, one long leg crossed over the other, her face half in shadow. Her ears twitched, and her crimson eyes gleamed faintly in the pale morning light. She looked like she'd been waiting for me to wake up. "Good morning, fiancé," she said. I screamed. Not a manly scream. More like a startled raccoon finding itself in a kitchen. She didn't even flinch. "You said we would wed," she continued, swinging her legs idly. "Your vow is binding." Look, I was drunk, okay? It was a joke. A joke. Her head tilted. A vow spoken before witnesses with intent. That is no joke. Intent? Lady, my intent was nachos and regrettable karaoke. She blinked slowly, then glanced around my messy apartment. "You live here?" she asked, sounding genuinely concerned, as though I'd confessed to living in a ditch. "Yeah, and don't judge me. The rent's brutal." She slid off the balcony railing, landing with the softness of a cat, and stepped inside like she owned the place. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a pizza box. "Humans bind themselves with words," she said. "Do they not?" "Well, sure, but not to strangers in bars. That was a joke. We joke a lot. It's a survival thing." Her ears twitched again, and she looked at me like I was explaining nuclear physics to a toddler. "A joke," she repeated. "Explain." So I did. Badly. I talked about sarcasm, memes, how humans laugh when they're nervous, how sometimes we say the opposite of what we mean. She listened intently, as if she were studying a new species under a microscope. When I finally ran out of steam, she said, "Your species is very inefficient." "Tell me about it," I muttered. Then she smiled. It was small, almost imperceptible, but it was the first real smile I'd seen from her. "Still," she said, "I will not release you. You are mine now." I laughed nervously, because that's what I do when someone says something horrifying. "Great. That's just great. Do you at least come with a dental plan?" Her crimson eyes glowed faintly. "I do not understand. But you will explain." And that's when it hit me. Whatever she wasn't leaving. I wasn't sure if I was in danger, or if this was the weirdest date I'd ever been on. Probably both. Either way, the alien vampire woman with the long ears had just moved into my life, and apparently, I was her fiancé. The next morning, I woke to the sound of humming. At first, I thought one of my neighbors had left their TV on too loud, but no, it was inside my apartment. I cracked one eye open and saw her sitting cross-legged on the floor, humming in a voice that was too steady, too resonant, like a violin string played by someone who knew exactly how to break glass with it. She was staring at my toaster. "You insert the bread," she said, not looking at me. "Then the machine burns it, and you eat it." "That's toast," I croaked, rubbing my eyes. Her head tilted. "Your species consumes charred food willingly." "It's tradition," I said. "And laziness. Mostly laziness." She pulled the lever down and watched the coils glow red, eyes widening as if she'd just discovered nuclear fusion. "Beautiful," she whispered. "Tiny suns in a box." I dragged myself off the couch, stepping over empty soda cans. "You know, most fiancés bring coffee in bed. You're over here romancing my toaster." "I must study everything of your world," she said, finally looking up at me. "If I am to remain with you, I must understand." That part hit me. Remain with me. Not visit, not drop by, not accidentally stumble into my life. Remain. "Look," I said, pouring cereal into a chip bowl. "About that whole marriage thing. Humans don't do instant weddings. They're stages. Dating. Meeting the parents. Panicking. Calling it off. Getting back together. Panicking again. It's a process." Her crimson eyes narrowed. "Process? How long?" "Years. Decades if you're lucky. Some people never even get married." She stared at me in silence, then said, "Unacceptable. You proposed. I accepted. The contract is sealed." "Yeah, but—" The toaster popped. She jumped like it had fired a gun. Then she laughed. Really laughed. The sound startled me. It wasn't human laughter, more like silver bells being crushed by thunder. But it was a laugh. "Your devices surprise me," she said, clutching the toast like it was a sacred artifact. "So much fire, so much life, captured in a box." She bit into it, and for a moment her face lit up like a kid at a candy store. Then she frowned. "Dry. That's toast," I said. "You put butter on it." She nodded gravely, as though I'd just given her a secret password. That day didn't get less weird. She followed me everywhere, asking questions that made me wonder if she was mocking me or genuinely clueless. Why do humans trap water in bottles instead of pulling it from the air? Why do they ride in metal boxes instead of leaping rooftops? Why do they sleep so long in one stretch when shorter cycles would be more efficient? I tried to answer, but half the time I made stuff up just to see if she'd believe me. "Yeah, cars exist because humans are too lazy to teleport," I said once. She nodded solemnly, as though filing that away for later. When we walked down the street together, people stared. Not because of her ears, somehow. Everyone's eyes seemed to slide off them, but because she carried herself like a queen inspecting her kingdom. And me? I looked like her scruffy sidekick, which, let's be real, I was. At lunch, she insisted on trying pizza. She studied the grease, poked the cheese, then folded the slice exactly like she'd seen me do. One bite and she froze, eyes closing as though the entire universe had just unfolded on her tongue. "You burn bread," she whispered. And then this. Your species hides miracles in mediocrity. Welcome to humanity, I said. That night, as I collapsed back onto the couch, she stood by the window, staring at the sky. Her ears twitched as if listening to something far away. They will come, she said softly. Who? My kind. They will sense the bond. They will not approve. Good, I said, half asleep. Maybe they'll explain to you that I was joking. She turned toward me, crimson eyes glowing faintly. It is no joke. You spoke the vow. You are mine, and they will not take you. I laughed nervously, pulling the blanket over my head. Cool. Nothing like intergalactic in-laws to ruin a relationship. But her voice lingered in the dark. I will protect you. And for reasons I couldn't explain, the word settled in me like both a promise and a threat. By the third day of being engaged, I had learned 3 important things. 1. She didn't sleep, at least not the way I did. 2. She thought Wi-Fi was a form of psychic energy and kept glaring at my router like it was challenging her. And 3. She was getting hungrier. It started small. She'd watch me eat breakfast with the intensity of a predator staring at prey. When I bit into a sandwich, her ears twitched. When I opened a soda, her eyes flicked to the fizz, as if the carbonation itself was alive. You don't eat? I asked one afternoon, munching on chips while she sat across from me, perfectly still. Not as you do, she said. Your food is dense. I require something more refined. Like what? Her smile revealed the faintest edge of fangs. Essence. The currents that bind stars. The pulse within blood. Energy. I swallowed my chip whole. So, like Red Bull. She tilted her head. If that is what you call it. I laughed nervously. No, that's not what I meant. She leaned closer, eyes glowing faintly. Do not fear. I will not consume you. Not fully. Not fully. I yelped. That's not comforting. But instead of answering, she shifted her gaze to the window, ears twitching again as though listening to something far away. I'd started to notice she did that a lot, like she could hear signals from beyond the atmosphere. And every time she did, I had the sinking suspicion someone, or something, was watching us. That night, the suspicion became reality. We were sitting on the roof of my apartment building, eating takeout noodles. Well, I was eating. She was staring at the moon like it had insulted her. Suddenly, the air shimmered. Not like heat waves, more like a glitch in reality itself. Then, out of nowhere, a figure appeared, tall, lean, with the same long ears and crimson eyes as her. His voice cut through the air like a knife. You've bound yourself to a human, he snarled. Pathetic. I nearly dropped my noodles. Okay, first off, rude. Second, could you not teleport into people's dinner? The new arrival ignored me, glaring only at her. She stood calmly, though her shadows twitched around her like restless animals. He is mine, she said. He is nothing, the newcomer spat. A fragile sack of fluids. You disgrace us all. Hey, I protested. This fragile sack of fluids has feelings, you know. The man raised a hand, and the air rippled with a strange hum, like static filling the sky. My hair stood on end, and for a second, I thought my fillings might vibrate out of my teeth. Before I could scream, she stepped forward, shadows rising at her command. You will not touch him, she said, her voice dropping into tones that seemed to echo inside my skull. The newcomer sneered. You've grown weak. So be it. He vanished as suddenly as he'd appeared, leaving only the hum of silence behind. I blinked at her. So, that was your cousin or something? She turned back to me, her expression unreadable. They will not stop. They smell your blood on me. They will come again. Fantastic, I muttered. Guess I should cancel Netflix. Won't have much time for binge watching when I'm busy being intergalactically hunted. She tilted her head, confused. What is Netflix? And just like that, the tension cracked. I laughed so hard I nearly fell off the roof. Oh boy, you're in for it. Endless stories. More drama than your vampire space clan. And if you don't like something, you just scroll. Her eyes narrowed. Scroll. I mimed flicking my thumb on my phone. Like this. She stared at me for a long time, then finally said, Your species is strange. But I will learn. Later that night, while I tried to sleep, she sat by the window again, watching the stars. I couldn't tell if she was protecting me or listening for more of her people. Probably both. And as I drifted off, I had one ridiculous thought. If my alien vampire fiancée was going to war with her family for me, the least I could do was introduce her to sitcoms. Maybe, just maybe, laughter would keep the hunger at bay. The next few days blurred into something that felt less like my old life and more like the world's strangest sitcom. Only instead of a laugh track, there was the constant hum of alien frequencies I couldn't hear, but she always seemed to notice. She'd claimed the couch as her throne, except she didn't sit. She perched, knees tucked up, eyes scanning everything like she was memorizing human civilization one dust particle at a time. My friends kept texting me, demanding to meet the mystery fiancé. I ignored them. How was I supposed to explain she could bench press a car and drink Starlight for breakfast? Still, I tried to keep things normal. I dragged her along to the grocery store, thinking maybe the fluorescent lights and screaming toddlers would convince her Earth wasn't worth the trouble. Instead, she wandered the aisles like a kid in a candy shop. She stood transfixed in front of the cereal boxes, eyes narrowing at the cartoon mascots. "These creatures," she said, pointing at a leering leprechaun. "Are they powerful?" "Not unless you count tooth decay," I said. She picked up a box and sniffed it. "So much sugar. Why has your species not collapsed?" "Oh, trust me," I said, tossing it into the cart. "We're working on it." At checkout, she tried to pay with a coin that looked like it was forged out of collapsed star matter. The cashier stared at it, muttered something about foreign currency, and waved us through like he didn't want to deal with it. She looked at me triumphantly. "See, it worked." Back at the apartment, things got less funny. She grew restless at night, pacing by the windows, ears twitching. I finally asked, "So, are your people mad because you're marrying a human, or are they mad because you're marrying me specifically?" "Both," she said simply. "Great. Double the reasons to kill me." "They will not harm you while I exist," she said, and though it was meant to comfort me, it sounded a lot like a death sentence for her. The first real test came 2 nights later. We were walking back from yet another pizza run when the sky above us flickered. At first I thought it was lightning, but then a sleek black shape cut through the clouds, a ship, sharp-edged, humming with energy. She stopped walking. Her eyes glowed faintly. "They are here." "Friends of yours?" I asked. She didn't answer. The ship descended silently, projecting a figure onto the street. Not a body, more like a hologram, though it shimmered with unnerving solidity. A woman, tall, regal, with the same ears and crimson eyes. She looked at me like I was a roach. "You shame us," the hologram said, her voice vibrating in my bones. "Binding yourself to livestock." "Excuse me," I shouted. "I'm at least like an advanced primate." The alien woman didn't laugh. Neither did my fiancé. Shadows coiled around her feet, writhing like snakes. "Leave," she said. The hologram's eyes narrowed. "You will return to us, or you will be erased." "Yeah, quick question," I said, raising my hand like a student in class. "If she goes with you, do I still have to pay for half the wedding?" The hologram ignored me. With a final glare, it dissolved, and the ship rose into the clouds until it was gone. I turned to her. "So that went well." Her shadows faded. "They are testing us." "Testing us?" "Lady, I didn't sign up for finals week." But she didn't smile. Her expression was distant, like she was calculating how long we had before the next test came. Later, back in the apartment, I found her holding the pizza box, staring at the grease stains as though they were prophetic runes. "They will not stop," she said. "They believe you weaken me. They cannot comprehend that you amuse me." "Wow," I said, sitting beside her. "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. I amuse you. Truly heartwarming." She tilted her head. "Is that not desirable?" I sighed. "It's something." She reached out, brushing her fingers across mine. "Cold but steady." "You make me laugh," she said. "I have not laughed in centuries." That shut me up. For once, I didn't have a comeback. Of course, I ruined the moment. If your people kill me, do I at least get an intergalactic honeymoon first? And for the second time since I'd met her, she actually laughed. Not silver bells this time. Real laughter. And despite the ships in the sky and the enemies closing in, it made me think, maybe, just maybe, there was something worth fighting for in this ridiculous mess. I didn't think the final showdown of my accidental engagement would take place in the middle of a parking lot behind a 24-hour laundromat, but life has a sense of humor like that. The sky tore open above us, humming with power, and a fleet of her people's ships hovered there, black and sharp like blades poised to cut the world apart. She stood in front of me, still and calm, shadows flickering around her ankles. I stood behind her, clutching a half-empty soda like it was a weapon. One of them descended, a counselor, judging by the way his cloak seemed to ripple even though there was no wind. His voice boomed through the air, amplified by technology one couldn't even begin to name. You have betrayed your kind. You bind yourself to a human. This ends now. She answered without hesitation. No, he is mine. Again with the possession thing. I muttered. Seriously, we need to work on the wording. The counselor raised his hand, and suddenly the air crackled. I felt my bones vibrate, my teeth ache, my hair trying to flee my scalp. She stepped forward, shadows curling up like wings, her eyes glowing brighter than I'd ever seen. You will not touch him, she said. And then, something unexpected happened. The ships above powered their weapons, lights glowing like newborn suns, but instead of vaporizing us, the power arced toward her and split. It flowed into her, into me, into the bond she kept insisting was real. I felt it like a rush of caffeine mixed with terror, a river of energy slamming into my veins. I should have died. Instead, I laughed, half hysterical, half drunk on the feeling. Okay, I gasped. That's one hell of an engagement gift. The counselor's expression faltered. Impossible. He cannot contain it. But I was containing it. Somehow. My body felt like it had been turned into a battery plugged directly into a star. And yet there I was, standing in sneakers sticky with spilled soda. She glanced back at me, her smile faint but real. You see, he strengthens me. And in that moment I realized something. It wasn't just about surviving. It wasn't just about jokes and pizza and teaching her what toast was. It was about choosing to stay, even when everything logical in me screamed to run. The counselor snarled, "Then both of you will be erased." The ship shifted, weapons humming louder. She reached for my hand. "Together," she said. I took her hand. And somehow, the power flowing between us surged higher. My mind exploded with images, her childhood under alien skies, centuries of hunger, the loneliness of watching stars die while she stayed the same. And then my own memories bled into hers, birthday cakes, dumb movies, the taste of ice cream, laughter that made your stomach hurt. Our lives overlapped, two stories tangled into one. The ships fired. The energy hit the bond we'd formed and ricocheted outward, snapping back like a cosmic rubber band. The blast lit up the night sky, brighter than any fireworks show. And when the light faded, the ships were gone. Not destroyed, just gone, like they'd been pushed into some other corner of the galaxy. Silence fell. My soda fizzed weakly in the background. She squeezed my hand, her eyes soft now, the glow fading. They will not return. The bond is proof enough. They cannot fight it. I laughed, shaky and out of breath. So we won. Just like that. She tilted her head. Victory is not the right word. But we remain. That is enough. We walked back toward the apartment in silence, our shadows stretching under the dim streetlights. I kept expecting more ships, more enemies, more impossible threats. But nothing came. For the first time in days, the sky felt still. Back inside, she sat on the couch, staring at the toaster again. I collapsed beside her. So I said, "What now? Do we actually go through with the whole marriage thing?" She looked at me, then at the toaster, then back at me. "Your world is strange. Your vows are stranger. But you are mine, and I am yours. That is enough." I grinned. I mean, sure. But I'm still not putting fiancé of alien vampire on Facebook. People will think I'm lying. She frowned. Facebook. I waved a hand. I'll explain later. Right after Netflix. And for the third time since I'd met her, she laughed. This time, it wasn't silver bells or alien thunder. It was something warm, almost human. I leaned back, exhausted but alive, and realized something had changed in me too. I wasn't just the guy who made bad jokes at bars anymore. I'd faced death, alien judgment, and intergalactic disapproval, and I'd chosen to stay. I wasn't brave, not really, but I'd learned that maybe bravery was just about not running, even when you really, really wanted to. So that's how it ended. No wedding bells yet, no perfect happily ever after. Just two very different beings sharing takeout on a worn-out couch, the universe glaring at us from above. And honestly, that was enough. The end.